my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another indie book review. Today we are getting a little bit spooky. I am reviewing Exit Ghost by Jennifer R. Donahue. This is the author's debut novel. They have released many novellas, all of which I have reviewed on the channel, link in the description, but this is the first full novel that she's written, and so obviously I was interested in that because I've been saying for a while I wanted to see longer form content out of her, and this one kind of took me by surprise, I'm not gonna lie, because her novella series are kind of kitschy sci-fi, but this is like dark, much darker stuff. This is a paranormal Hamlet retelling with witches, and admittedly, I don't know that much about Hamlet. I know the usual plot points that most people would know, the to be or not to be, Ophelia drowns, the uncle did it. Like, I know some stuff, but I don't know the story well enough to be like, aha, that's a reference to that. Although, I do like that there is a Doberman named Yorick. That's just excellent storytelling right there. So this revolves around a woman named Jules who has recently come home from the hospital after getting shot, or rather the bullet ricocheted off the bench and kind of grazed her head. And in that same moment, her father was killed, and she is a witch, and so does some witchy stuff and calls Dad from the afterlife, and Dad announces it was Hector. And of course, Hector is his lifelong friend and Mom's new fiance. So she's like, well, clearly I got to do something about this. And she starts plotting of ways to get back. But also, she's not exactly sure that it was her father she was talking to in the ritual. Apparently, she did not exactly follow the rules and did not exactly do it to its most optimized ritual. So there's a chance she called something else. And there's a lot of haziness, wishy-washiness in the magic. It's definitely softer magic. It's definitely like she and her friend are practitioners with, protective tattoos and all that kind of stuff. And they were taught by a third, but it's very much decentralized magic. It's very much being brought in by someone already in the know and hard to break into. And as a result, there's not really a magic system to speak of, more or less. Like, they talk a little bit about protections and a little bit about that kind of stuff, and be careful who you invite and da-da-da-da-da, but there's not a hard and fast system in it. But I think that was more because it wanted the ambiance, and it's supposed to be like a mystery and psychological, so to have a set out magic system would probably have ruined that. But also, there is another woman that she's grown up with, Una, who wants to move in with them in their apartment, and they decide, Ashley, who's often called Ashes, I don't know if that's supposed to be a reference to a Shakespeare thing, and Jules, real name is Juliet, betcha can't guess that Shakespeare reference, want her to be their third. 3 is the big strong number in magic, but she's an innocent and has a creepy new boyfriend that's doing something. The book never makes it very clear. It's left very open-ended. Like I said before, the magic doesn't have a lot of explanations to it. You never really figure out exactly what he had intended to do, but he's doing something not good. And so there's just, in the writing style, there's just this feeling of haziness. Like, obviously you have a protagonist with a head injury and taking painkillers, but like, there was acid trips and there was weird magic-y stuff, and I felt like I could never be sure what was going on half the time. Like, I started feeling hazy reading it. But again, I think that was part of the purpose. I think that was intentional, so it's not like I can really knock off a star for it. The characters themselves are fairly unlikable. Now, if you've been around for a hot minute, you will know I don't take off stars for that. As long as they are interesting and can carry a story through interest, I don't necessarily care that they're likable. Well, yes, you can have sympathy for Jules and everything that's gone on with her. She also is actively sleeping with one of the employees charged with keeping her safe, and then also sleeping with his sister, and makes no bones about the fact that Yeah, she's a bit of an asshole at times. So it's not one of those you have to think they're a good person to follow the story things. But this kind of book, this kind of dark mystery, tends to lend itself to very morally gray, making very morally questionable decisions kinds of characters. So I can't fault it too much for that. There's also a lot of dysfunctional family stuff, but there's also trigger warnings for cutting and for suicide ideation, which that one feels kind of obvious to say because this is a Hamlet retelling and Hamlet's biggest, most famous monologue is literally suicide ideation. It's funny, a lot of people don't actually like think about that, but to be or not to be, that's to live or to die. That's the entire monologue. The ending was properly spooky and big and felt important. The one thing I will say is that the story plot wise tends to have a lot of characters come in and out in ways that don't feel complete. Like, and I'm trying to speak vaguely here because spoilers. There would be like this character comes in and it seems like they should have been here earlier because they were talked about a lot before, or the way they leave the plot feels a little bit anticlimactic. And again, I can't speak any more like specifically than that without spoiling some things. But the thing is that again, I don't know Hamlet that well. I did know about like the Ophelia drowning thing, and there is one part that's an homage to that, and I really loved that homage to that. That was a great scene. But I didn't know if like there were references I was getting, if Jenner, if Marianne, if John, if all of them were supposed to be references to characters from the play, and maybe the beats that I was confused by were references to the play that I just wasn't getting. And that's why I didn't take off a star for it or anything, because I knew that I didn't know the source material going into it. So if you are a big Shakespeare fan or love Shakespeare retellings, I feel like Hamlet is definitely probably more overdone than some of the other plays, but probably less done than the plays that get retold constantly, like Romeo and Juliet or Twelfth Night. So if you like really dark, spooky stuff, this is there. This is magic as an incorporeal and very dangerous thing, and dealing with powers that could 100% turn on you type of stuff. Like I mentioned before, we're dealing with very dark topics like suicide ideation and cutting and murder and just overall very dark. But it was nice to undercut my previously fluffy reading with something a little bit darker. You need that palate cleanser. And while it did make me literally feel hazy at times, it is a very distinct writing tone that is very different than the tone of her previous books. And I already knew from those books that the author was excellent at switching up the tone, because her novella series is switching POVs every book to a different character in that thief trio, and each character has a different personality. So the author just loves switching a writing voice in her work constantly. So now I expect the next one to be super light and fluffy, just to shake it up, really. But excellent debut, well formatted. I didn't even spot a lot of typos in it. I definitely think that it's going to be for like specific kinds of people, not just like Shakespeare fans, but like the people who want dark stuff. There was a moment where I was like, oh, is this going to turn into a paranormal romance? But nope. It is dark thriller Hamlet retelling with magic the entire way through. So be on the lookout for that. This is one you'll definitely have to like, at least following unlikable characters in an interesting plot. But if you like all those things, this will definitely be an excellent pick. In the end, I gave this book 4 stars. A lot of the haziness eventually got to me, and it was kind of affecting my reading. So that was more based on a pure, my own personal experience with it more than anything else. But you might have a different one. So thank you so much for watching, and with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.